whether it was foolish belief or, foresight, I don't know, honestly, but it was belief. And I think you've got to have belief in yourself and belief in your team and belief in what you're doing. If you've got that, then I honestly believe you can get over most issues that you face.
Well, our guest today was a founding member and CEO of Cake Solutions Limited. And now that started in 2001. We're going to hear about how he got going in business in a moment. Now, over the next 16 years, he directly oversaw the development of that business from a small startup to an international multi-million-pound company on the cutting edge of engineering and a process in open source software. Now, after being recognized in the Deloitte UK Technology Fast 50, Cake Solutions was acquired by a multinational corporation and then rebranded as Disney Streaming Services. He is now building several new organizations with his business partners, Gary Fletcher and Dave Zampano. One is a highly efficient tech-led private equity organization. It's really entrepreneurs helping entrepreneurs. In fact, EHE is what it's called. Fabulous, with a focus on AI technologies to help those businesses. And with his partner, Dave, they've got a legal document platform where their moonshot, their big vision, their big goal is to be the largest law firm in the world that doesn't employ any lawyers. Fascinating. They are digitizing, democratizing, and demonetizing legal services, helping smaller law firms compete in a digital era. I'm very excited to have Guy Remond with me here, and we're going to have an incredible journey on this wonderful story. And thank you for joining us all the way from the UK.
Yeah, thank you, Richard. Excited to be speaking to you and to be on the show.
Amazing. Now, I'm really curious. Every entrepreneur's journey starts somewhere. Yours began in 2001, but it really would have began before that. That's when the business got started. But what happened prior to that? What's one of the things that you think people need to know as they consider whether they're just thinking about starting their own business or they're reflecting on their own journey of being a business owner?
Yeah, I mean, I'll give you the quick speed dating version all the way through to when I started the company in 2001, Cake Solutions. I was very, very average at school, and subsequently, probably in my early 30s, found out that I was quite highly dyslexic. My son was quite highly dyslexic, which is how I kind of cottoned onto that. And then a lot of things that had happened made sense. So, I was always in let's put it this way, the average classes at school. I came out with some qualifications, but not that many. I really enjoyed playing football at school and at lunchtime rather than actually being in class. And I actually left school at 17, 18, and I couldn't wait to get into work. I joined a supermarket group called Sainsbury's over here, which at the time was the largest supermarket in the UK. I spent 11 years there. I really enjoyed it. It's very hands-on actually the big thing I learned from that, which is it's defined me in all honesty, is I learned how to manage people, understand people, build relationships, because these stores have 350 people in them. You kind of learn to manage all walks of life, right? So anything from a student who comes in on a Saturday and sits on a till, probably hungover from the night before, to the evening shift ladies who come in and restock the shelves, to the multitude of people that work on the tills in the warehouses, in the canteen, whatever. Looking back, it really, kind of helped build my unique ability, which is to build outstanding teams. That's what I'm really good at. And, we're both aware of strategic coach. They have this concept called unique ability. And when I did it, it all harked back to those early days of working for Sainsbury's in a supermarket, a big supermarket. And then I guess I kind of, I've always had the ability to make decisions quickly and take chances. And, I saw an advert in the newspaper. I wasn't looking to leave Sainsbury's, actually. I really quite enjoyed it. But I saw an advert in the newspaper for an electrical superstore. So I applied for it and I got it. And it was in PC World, which is basically a computer shop. And kind of my inner geek came out then. I've always been interested in tech and the future and so on. And, that was a really cool environment for me. And then very quickly, I did that for sort of 18 months or so. And that's when I then set up a business called Netcars with a couple of young guys called Reg and Louis Ricks, a couple of brothers. And their father was in the car industry, had several kind of car showrooms. They wanted to do things differently. They wanted to use the internet to sell cars effectively. So we built something called Netcars 2000. And it was a terrible time to set a business up, right? It was right at the end of the dot-com boom. So it was like 2000, so 2001. So, the early 2000s, everything went wrong with tech. It hit rock bottom kind of thing. And, quite frankly, myself and my business partner, a guy called Rob Harrop, who turned out to be technically still one of the most gifted engineers and architects I've ever worked with, even though he was a young guy at that particular point. And we started to build this company. He left in 2006, but by then we were beginning to build a reasonable team up. So, he left for all the right reasons. He's still a friend of mine. He went and did what he did very successfully, as it happens. I went on and began to develop Cake. And to begin with, it was, kind of a lifestyle company. So, we were not that ambitious, quite frankly. We were happy to do our thing, and we were earning good money. We built really quite an incredible team of technical people, and I was the commercial side of the business. And then we got to about 2010, and my CTO at the time, a guy called Jan Mahacek, who is one of the most talented software engineers and architects I've ever worked with. Him and Rob, are the best people I've ever worked with directly. And he saw an opportunity with the new technology, and this new technology would enable us to build systems that didn't fall over when there were spikes in demand. So you can imagine when there's an advert on in between a TV show, and it's an advert for one of the online platforms. We have you guys have Ticketmaster out there, so we had Ticketmaster, and Robbie Williams was doing a gig at Nebworth, and literally within seconds of the tickets going on sale, the platform fell over, and then it come back for a few minutes, and it fall over, and you'd literally spend 4 or 5 frustrating hours trying to buy tickets for this show. It was just a nightmare. So the technology we were beginning to use, and it was early in their early days, was solved that problem, right? So it enabled these platforms to deal with mass, big spikes in demand. And they slowed down, but they didn't fall over, which was key. They could deal with much higher bandwidth and higher concurrent user numbers and so on. And we started to work with some companies in the UK. One of the big price comparison websites called Money Supermarket. We'd worked with McLaren. We worked with Weight Watchers in New York. We worked with BAMTech, which was emanated out of MLB, which was responsible for streaming all the major American sports at that particular point. The technologies that we were specializing in, and we grew up using as they developed the technology itself, as the purveyors of this technology developed it, we started to grow with the technology and started to work with companies that, quite frankly, a company of our size should really never be able to work with.
Amazing. And so you overcame a few challenges in there, obviously, dyslexia being one of them, having a difficult time. Again, .com bubble, not everyone maybe remembers that to the same degree that you do, but starting a tech company, I think that's clear what kind of challenges would have been faced. But now dealing with technological change, looking at what's the problem that we need to solve, finding a way to solve it, and then creating a space in the market that almost wouldn't have really been yours had it not been for the fact that you were actively trying to solve that problem for the purveyors you were working with. And so what other things came about in that time frame? Because we're 16 years in business before you sold the company. I'm sure there was a lot of other chaotic moments that would have occurred, both from maybe the economic standpoint, but even just in dealing with perhaps teams and people and different maybe regulations. So, what are some of the other challenges you had to overcome during that time frame at the head of that company?
Yeah, I mean, we absolutely did, and you're quite right to call that out. So, there was a couple of occasions we almost went bust, and on one of the occasions, if we'd have gone bust, I'd have gone bankrupt because I put everything I had and more using credit cards into the company to ensure its survival. So, and interestingly, you'd have thought, we started the business in the when the dot-com bust in the sort of early 2000s. And interestingly, actually, during the recession in 2008, we did okay. We had some really good customers, and that saw us through. We struggled in 2004. So, I'm sure most young entrepreneurs who have built a business will kind of relate to this. I had no clue what I was doing. I'd never run a business. I'd never had any training about running a business. I'd gone into this, I suppose, in true entrepreneurial fashion, where I thought, well, I can do this. Humans couldn't deal with the figures that were required as accurately as computers could. So that was a really unexpected strategic byproduct of what they were doing in terms of building software. But if we'd not won that piece of business, and I said my business partner went in and knocked it out of the ballpark from a presentational point of view, and we won the business and we survived, but we were within 2 weeks of running out of money and going bust.